Hi there! Before we dive into today's episode, if this is your first time, I just want to introduce myself and say welcome. My name is Tuva Marina, and I'm a somatic and subconscious alignment coach. I work with nervous system health, trauma-informed healing, and I also work with the more deeper layers of change that don't respond to mindset work alone. And on this podcast, we explore why growth sometimes feels harder than staying the same and how the body influences the choices we think we are making with our mind and what it actually takes to build a life that your nervous system can stay in. And in today's episode, I will dive deep into something many people experience, but they rarely have language for. I'm going to talk about why your nervous system can resist the life you actually want, like you consciously want. And if you feel like your nervous system is always resisting the life you say you want, I want you to stay with me here for a little moment, because this isn't the mindset issue and it is not the lack of discipline, and it doesn't mean that you are doing something wrong. Most people, they never talk about this part. Never. You want a life. You have been very clear about it. You have visualized it. You have done all the inner work, and you even changed your language and you raised your standards. And still, something in you tightens. You stall, you hesitate, you feel strangely tired right when things could move forward, or you feel calm on the surface, but you feel a resistance underneath that surface. And isn't all of that very confusing? Because on paper, this is the life that you asked for. So the mind starts asking the wrong questions. It starts to ask, what is wrong with me? Why can't I just let this happen? Why do I always get this close, and then I pull back? And I want to give you a very simple reframe. If your nervous system resists the life you say you want, it is not because you are broken. It is because your body is protecting you from something it doesn't yet feel safe to hold. And that protection is so intelligent. Your nervous system doesn't respond to vision boards. It responds to safety. It responds to familiarity. And it responds to what it knows how to survive. So when expansion shows up, even beautiful expansion, the body doesn't ask, is this good? The body asks, do I know how to stay alive here? And if the answer is unclear, resistance makes sense. So this episode is not about pushing through that resistance. It is about understanding why it is doing exactly what it is doing and what real change actually requires from the body. Because feeling stuck, it doesn't mean that nothing is happening. Very often, it means something important is reorganizing beneath the surface. And once you see that, all the shame you've been carrying drops away, and that urgency just softens, and you can finally stop fighting yourself. So let's talk about what is actually going on here, because there is a specific kind of confusion that shows up right before things change. And most people do not talk about this because from the outside, it doesn't make sense. So you finally get close to what you want. And instead of feeling energized, you feel exhausted. And not tired in a normal way. You feel heavy, like your body suddenly needs more sleep, more space, more quiet around you. You thought expansion would feel like momentum, but it feels like your system is asking you to lay down. Or it is. An opportunity appears, not a fantasy, a real opportunity, like an email, a conversation, an invitation to something, an opportunity. And you don't say no. But you don't say yes either. You tell yourself you will respond tomorrow, then tomorrow comes. and you don't respond. And not because you don't want it, but because something in you tightens every time you think about stepping into it. Or maybe it shows up as visibility. More people are watching you, more people are listening to you, and reflecting you back to yourself. And instead of confidence just rising, anxiety spikes. Your chest feels tighter, your thoughts get louder, and you start questioning things you were clear about just weeks ago. And here's one that really confuses people. You finally get calm. Spacious days, less chaos, more choice. And instead of relief, you feel uncomfortable, restless, almost uneasy in that quiet. You start yourself to create noise without meaning to. You scroll, you overwork, overthink, because something about peace, it feels unfamiliar. And this is usually the moment people turn on themselves. They say things like, "Why am I like this? I thought I healed this part. What's wrong with me? Other people would be grateful for all of this." But nothing is wrong. What is happening is much more precise than that. You are experiencing the gap between what you want consciously and what your body knows how to hold safely. Because a distinction that is really important is that you can want something very deeply and still not feel safe with it somatically. You can desire a bigger life, more love, more visibility, more ease, while your nervous system is still calibrated for survival and not for expansion. Your nervous system, it does not respond to what you want. It responds to what it knows how to survive. It asks questions your mind does not ask. It asks questions like, if I have this, who do I lose? If I'm seen here, am I safe? If life gets easier, do I know who I am? Or if I stop striving, do I disappear? So when expansion shows up, your body isn't celebrating yet. It is scanning. And that scanning can feel like resistance, delay, fatigue, anxiety, or self-doubt. But it is protection. It is intelligent, learned, loyal protection. And once you see that, once you start to see that, the confusion starts to soften, because this is not about motivation and it is not about mindset. It is about safety. And we haven't been taught how to build that for the lives we want next. Your nervous system, sorry, I'm very sorry, but it is not designed to make you happy. It is designed to keep you alive. That is it. That is the job. And it does that by prioritizing familiar, not fulfillment. So when something new shows up, even if that is good, even if it's what you have been asking for, your body doesn't immediately register it as safe. It sees it as something that is unknown, and unknown to the nervous system equals risk. This is why expansions can feel so destabilizing, because growth introduces unpredictability, like new expectations, new visibility, new dynamics, a new version of you. And unpredictability requires more internal resources than survival does. Survival is familiar. Expansion is not familiar. And that is why so many people feel confused by their own reactions, because logically, everything looks better. But somatically, the body is asking, do I know how to survive here? This is why chaos can feel strangely comfortable, because if you grew up navigating instability, that could be emotional, relational, maybe financial, your system learned how to orient inside noise. So when things finally quiet down, your body doesn't immediately relax. It starts to scan. So calm can therefore feel suspicious, because nothing in your history taught your body what to do with it. This is why overworking can feel safer than ease because strain has structure, effort has rules, and burnout is familiar territory. But ease removes the scripts. And suddenly your system is always asking, if I stop pushing, who am I? If I don't struggle, do I still belong? If I receive, do I owe something? Even receiving love can trigger this, not because you don't want it, but because receiving requires openness, and openness requires safety. This is also why struggle can feel earned, while receiving feels undeserved. Because your nervous system learned that I survive by trying, I stay safe by proving, and I belong by effort. So when life starts offering instead of demanding, your body starts to hesitate. And not because the body is broken, but because it is conservative. Your body would rather stay in a known discomfort than risk an unfamiliar safety. That known pain, it has a map, but your unfamiliar peace does not have a map. So if peace feels strange, if ease feels uncomfortable, if good things arrive and your system tightens, that doesn't mean you're self-sabotaging. It means your body is doing exactly what it was trained to do. And the work is not to force trust. It is to let the body learn that this new terrain doesn't require armor. And that learning, it takes time. Not because you are slow, but because safety is built through experience. It is not built through insight. And once you see that, you stop fighting your body. So there is a part where people come to and they just start blaming themselves. Like, you've visualized it, you've journaled it, you've spoken it out loud, maybe even believed it for moments at a time. And still, the same patterns repeat. You get close, then something pulls you right back. And most manifestation languages doesn't know what to do with this. It says, think better thoughts, raise your vibration, align with your mindset. And while there is some truth there, it is incomplete. Because mindset work alone assumes something that isn't always true. It assumes that your body is ready to receive what your mind desires. But manifestation does not fail because you are not positive enough. It fails when there is a gap between desire and capacity, between what you want and what your nervous system knows how to hold without threat. Visualization without regulation, it asks the body to leap where it hasn't yet learned to land, and desire without capacity, it creates tension. And intention without embodiment, it creates burnout. And that is why so many people live in an almost there cycle. They're not blocked, they're overloaded. They reach for a future their system can't stabilize inside them. So the body does what it always does when it senses overload. It slows things down, it creates resistance, and it pulls energy back. And people always assume that this is laziness or lack of faith or inconsistency or self-sabotage, but it is none of those. It is regulation, trying to catch up to vision. And this is why people burn out chasing their dream life, why they manifest opportunity but they can't sustain it, and why every year feels like a reset instead of a continuation. They're starting over energetically because the body never fully arrived. So I just want to say one thing very clearly. You cannot manifest what your nervous system is organized to avoid. Not because you don't deserve it, not because you are doing it wrong, but because safety always overrides strategy. The nervous system doesn't respond to affirmations. I'm sorry how many affirmations you are doing. It doesn't respond to it. It responds to experience. It needs proof that this new life won't cost you connection, won't overwhelm your system, and won't demand you to abandon yourself. Until that proof exists somatically, the body will keep applying the brakes. And once you understand this, something important can shift. You stop forcing alignment. You stop blaming yourself for resistance. You stop trying to think your way into a life your body isn't ready for yet. And you realize this isn't a failure of manifestation. It is a signal that regulation needs to come first. Not instead of desire, but so that desire has somewhere to land. And when those two finally meet, vision and safety, things stop feeling like effort and they start feeling inevitable. Most people relate to their resistance as a flaw, as something to overcome, to discipline or fix. But what if it is not punishment and instead what it is protection? Your nervous system is not trying to stop your life, it is trying to preserve you, and often what it is protecting has nothing to do with whether you will fail. It has everything to do with what you might lose if you succeed. So I want to teach you what the body quietly fears, and not in words, but in sensation. It fears loss of identity because the version of you that learned how to survive was built around certain rules. It was built maybe around being the reliable one, or the strong one, or the one who manages, or the one who just holds it all together. And if your life expands, who are you without those roles? And the nervous system asks, if I'm no longer this person, do I still belong? It fears outgrowing relationships, and not because you don't love people, but because growth changes dynamics. It changes what you tolerate, it changes what you resonate with, what you need, and your body may remember times when change meant separation, so it hesitates. Because connection has always mattered more than success. It fears increased responsibility. Not responsibility as in tasks, but responsibility as in impact. Like being seen more clearly, being relied on, being unable to disappear when things gets hard. So your nervous system wonders, if I step fully into this, will I still be allowed to rest? It fears visibility, not attention, but clarity, like being known without hiding, being perceived accurately, being seen for who you actually are, because visibility removes the option to go back unnoticed. And yes, it fears not being able to return. Once you cross certain thresholds, you don't get to unknow what you know. You don't get to shrink back into old lives. You don't get to pretend anymore. And that permanence can feel terrifying to the body. This is why resistance often appears right before expansion. Not because you are about to fail, but because you are about to change in ways that cannot be undone. Sometimes your nervous system is not afraid of failing. It is afraid of succeeding and being changed forever. That fear doesn't mean stop. It means something precious is at stake. When you see resistance in this way, self-judgment dissolves and you finally stop asking what's wrong with me, and you start asking, what is my body trying to protect here? And the moment that compassion enters the picture, your system doesn't need to grip as tightly anymore because it finally feels understood. And please do not think that this is about pushing past fear. It's not. It is about letting your body know that we are not abandoning ourselves to get there where we want. And once you build that trust, once that begins to form, something in you will soften. And this is where a lot of well-intentioned people can get stuck in a loop because they feel resistance, so they push. And when they feel fear, they try to override it. And when they feel hesitation, they discipline themselves harder. And for a while, it works. You can force yourself, you can force your way into almost anything, but the body keeps the score. When you push against your nervous system, the system doesn't see that as growth, it sees it as threat. And threat increases contraction, and contraction narrows perception. It tightens the body, it reduces capacity. And when capacity shrinks, integration becomes impossible. You might get somewhere, but you cannot stay. This is why forcing, it creates short-term wins, but turns into long-term collapses. Like you achieve the thing, but you feel anxious inside the thing. And you get the opportunity, but you're exhausted the moment you arrive. You step in right into the life that you wanted, that you dreamed of, and immediately you start to look for a freaking exit. So this is where we need to be precise. There is a difference between discipline and coercion. Discipline is an agreement with yourself. Coercion is overriding yourself. Discipline feels clean. It comes with consent and it is sustainable. Meanwhile, coercion, it feels tight, it's urgent and very heavy, and your body knows the difference. There is also a difference between expansion and overwhelm. Expansion creates more space inside of you. Meanwhile, overwhelm floods that space faster than your system can hold it. And I'm bringing these up because from the outside, they can look the same. But from the inside, they feel completely different. If you have to override your body to get there, your body won't let you stay. Because whatever you override to arrive, you will have to keep overriding to remain. And that is not freedom. So if you have noticed that pushing harder makes you more tired, or forcing clarity creates more confusion, and discipline turns into resentment, that is your feedback. Your nervous system isn't asking you to quit everything. It is asking you to stop treating expansion like an emergency. Real growth doesn't require violence against the self. It requires capacity. And capacity grows when the body feels included and when you are not trying to conquer it. So once you stop pushing, is when something interesting starts to happen. Like that resistance, it starts to loosen. The breath deepens and the system starts to trust the process again. And that is where real movement begins, because your body finally feels safe enough to go with you. I want to be very, very clear, very clear. Safety for expansion doesn't come from a breakthrough. It doesn't come from a single decision, and it doesn't come from pushing yourself past your edge. It comes from capacity, and capacity is built slowly. Your body needs proof, not promises. It doesn't trust your vision board. It doesn't trust your affirmations. It doesn't trust intensity. It trusts consistency. This is why real safety feels almost ordinary. It is not dramatic. It is not exciting. It doesn't come with the rush of adrenaline. It comes with the sense of, I can be here and not disappear. Safety for expansion looks like letting your body acclimate to more space, to more calm, to more ease, visibility, one layer at a time, not all at once. It is allowing yourself to have good days without immediately bracing for impact. It is letting things go well without rushing to sabotage them. It is noticing when your system wants to speed up and you choose to stay. This is how trust forms, not through intensity, but through repetition, through reliability. Your nervous system is going to open to whatever you trust will not abandon it. It doesn't open to things that is impressive or what looks good or what should work, but to what feels steady. This is why safety cannot be rushed, because the body learns through experience, through staying, through returning, and through not being left behind in the name of growth. And when safety is built in this way, expansion stops feeling like a risk. You don't need to leap into your future. You need to let your body walk there with you. And that, slowly, gently, is how change actually lasts. And there is a moment when, and that moment is quieter than most people expect, but when desire and safety finally meet. And when that happens, everything changes. And it doesn't happen all at once. It doesn't happen dramatically. It happens so cleanly. Desire becomes calmer and is no longer frantic or loaded. It feels grounded, feels rooted, like it belongs in your body. Action starts to feel different. You don't need to hype yourself up. You don't need to override hesitation, and you don't need to convince yourself to move. You just do. And presence returns. So you can actually be where you are without mentally rushing ahead. You can enjoy progress. You can receive without immediately asking what it will cost. There is a big difference between forcing a life and letting a life unfold. And once you have felt that difference, you don't go back. And before you move on with your day, just let it settle. Not everything needs to turn into insight. Not everything needs to be integrated right away. If something in this episode felt familiar, or if parts of it made sense in your body before your mind caught up to it, that is enough for now. The resistance you have been experiencing isn't failure, it is feedback. And the awareness that you have now, the ability to see what your nervous system has been protecting, that is movement. Your body is not working against you, and it has never been. What it is doing is that it is trying to make sure that whatever comes next does not cost you yourself. So instead of asking, how do I get past this? You might let yourself hold this question instead. What if your nervous system isn't rejecting your dream, but asking to be included in it? You don't need to answer that now. Just notice what shifts when you stop fighting the pause. And until next time, stay aligned, stay curious, and most important of all, stay true to yourself.